So really want to talk about how, not that COVID is causing a lot of problems, it certainly is for some businesses, but really I want to talk about how COVID is raising the stakes of, great companies will survive and ones that aren't so great are going to really struggle. And in our few minutes here talking, I want to talk about what's wrong with some of the current approaches, a better approach, and then I'll give you some tips that everyone in the room here should be able to implement going back to their own business or office. So tactics may change over time, but the goal and strategy for generating business really is evergreen. That's why I say it's not COVID dependent. The key to building a predictable and repeatable process for generating business for great clients really is to know, why do your clients choose you? Not who can you serve, but who do you want to serve and why do they choose you? So you start by asking, of course, why should a client choose you? And that question actually is a little bit complicated. So you end up trying to answer why clients ought to choose you. And that then evolves into, why would you choose you? And that's actually not very helpful because you're not your client. It doesn't really matter why you would choose yourself. So I want to ask you, secret. There's an important secret that I'd like to share, and that is that your clients don't care about you. They don't care about your business. What they do care about is they care about improving their business. So you can do that, you can have a conversation everyone wants to have. Further, clients have a lot of choices. You're not unique. No matter what you do, you're not unique. Maybe Steve gets pretty close to it with Ken, with his religious icons, but I'm sure there's other people that do that even. There are, in most cases, there's a lot of other firms that do what you do, and yet most of us have clients who would go nowhere else. And so if you know why, then you can start to attract more of your best clients and you can do it faster. And if you want to understand this, you must learn to think like your clients. Now, thinking like your clients is a little counterintuitive because we are wired to think like about ourselves. It's part of the survival instinct. We think from our own perspective. And so thinking like your clients requires a little bit of a different mindset. But I want to tell you, it's not as hard as it seems initially. Once you get going, there's a lot of momentum. You've undoubtedly heard the old adage that no one cares about what you have to say until they feel you care about them. Hopefully everyone's heard that before, because it's absolutely true. But it's more than an old adage, it's been clinically proven. So research out of the University of Texas talks about this explicitly and says that you need to make an emotional connection with a client. I'm sure Dave would tell you this as well. Maybe different reasons, but it's absolutely true. And once the buyer has decided that they like a particular option, they start thinking in terms of that option with their emotions. They start to have what's called a pre-decision. And what this means is that the buying process doesn't happen the way you learned about it in school or wherever you learned about the buying process. It starts with a connection, and then there's a pre-decision. This is I want to work with so-and-so, that emotionally. And then what happens is you start to do what's called a post hoc rationalization. People then say, I'm inclined to take this choice, and then they start to look for logical reasons to support their pre-decision. They cherry pick facts. And if you really start to break down how you make decisions about just about anything, you will see this process over and over again, but we don't think about it. And if you do this, you can get to the yes much faster. And don't be thinking that this is only true for some people, because guess what? There's research on that too. Research out of the University of Southern California looked at people who had brain injuries that affected their emotions, and it found that they were able to think about how they make decisions, but they were completely unable to pull the trigger. So they could walk you through the whole process, but they couldn't actually make a decision. So I find that really interesting. So the real question now is, how do you use this information, and more for your own benefit, but even more importantly, for your client's advantage? Facilitating a pre-decision that we talked about a minute ago allows you to connect emotionally and to be a great choice. So a great choice is a little bit different than being the best choice. A great choice is one the client can make with confidence and not have second thoughts about. If you're dealing with a lot of things, we try to make the best choice, but we're not really equipped. We don't have the information. We don't really know how there's intangibles, there's things we don't know how they're going to turn out. And we end up making a choice after an exhaustive process. And then we're not really sure it was the best choice to begin with. A great choice, you don't have that because it's a great choice. I can be happy with this. I don't need to have second thoughts. It doesn't mean there's not other great choices out there, but a client doesn't need, more than one great choice. And if they can get there, usually they can stop their process. So to facilitate the pre-decision, there's some questions that you really need to think about. And these questions are typically unasked because people assume they know the answers. And this is about how the client or your customer, how do they define success? What do they care about? And how do they see your impact on their business? So sometimes you'll see realtors talk about that they don't sell houses, they sell homes. That's starting to think about how people it's going to impact their life. Unfortunately, much as you've seen, you could just go ask people. You can't ask them directly. Well, you can, but you're not really going to learn as much as you would want to. And part of that is because if you talk to clients that really like working with you and really like you, they tend to mirror your response back. And that is that they want to please you, so they will take what you have said, your marketing or whatever, and they're likely to mirror it back to you. And people do that. They say, oh, I talked to a bunch of customers or clients and wow, we are so on track. But in fact, they haven't actually learned anything. And that can be very dangerous. And that builds on confirmation bias. So how do you think like your clients? What I've found that works the best is to reverse engineer the process. So reverse engineer answers from your very best clients. So these are the ones that you would clone if you could. Not all your clients. Some people have a lot of best clients. Some people have a few. But these are the ones that you would clone if you could, because those are the ones you want to do more business with. I do this and facilitate this for my clients by doing this with interviews with their best clients. And those interviews are a lot more than just listening. It's the ability to ask the right questions, to get the right answers, to truly understand what is going on with their client's firm, their client's life, whatever the product or service deals with. So what comes out of the interviews are practical and actionable insights. Ideal customers aren't real because they're hypothetical. Best customers are real. So the insights are much more actionable. You know best customers exist. You don't know whether that ideal customer actually exists in life. But let's pop the hood and ask, why does reverse engineering work so well? So first off, the focus is on what already works and doing it better. That makes it more effective. The second point is that instead of rebranding or trying to expand out to do more things or buying lots of new technology, this is a much lower risk because it's known quantity. It's what you are doing and doing it better. And in fact, it then bleeds over into everything else. Marketing, sales, operations, everything makes them better because people have more information, more knowledge about what builds and solidifies those relationships with customers or clients. The neuroscience of decision making means that there's science behind it. It's not just stuff we've known, best practices. In fact, however, like I pointed out, and I use it this way explicitly, is some of those old adages of what we know works, those rules of thumb. Well, it's they're rules of thumb that stuck around for a long time because they are correlated with success. And what science is telling us is it's not correlation, it's causation. So that's even better. And then maybe the best one is the more you do it, the easier it gets. It's a little counterintuitive at first, but once you start getting feedback from clients about, oh, you understand me so well, it becomes really easy to do that. So this is why it works. Now, it also drives what I call 7 key benefits. And this is, you get more ROI by going deeper into your sweet spot. These are your best clients. These are more profitable, more loyal. These are clients that you are confident you will do a great job for. And so from that standpoint, you want to do more of them because they're more fun to work with, but they're also more profitable and they'll give you the highest return. It's a faster, easier buying decision. And this is the great choice versus the best choice. And it sets up the sales process to be really effective. It also increases loyalty and referrals. And this is, when customers can articulately name why they choose you, not that you're the best, or you've been doing it a long time, or I really like working with so-and-so. It's why. It's all the value comes after because. So when your customers or clients can articulately name why they choose you and where your sweet spot is, they now become great referral partners. So they can go out there and really speak to you and help direct people where you're going to hit home runs into you, so you can talk to them. It's built on stories. It's what you actually do. It's not all the stuff you do. It's how you impact people's businesses or their lives, their homes, their businesses. And these stories, because they center on improving the prospect's business or what they really care about, they're easier to understand, they're easier to remember, and they're easier to share. So it's not just that they're great stories that have a lot of impact, they're ones that people can remember and can share effectively. I'm not really big on when I talk about being a lot of marketing people talk about being your unique selling proposition, or you have to be unique. Well, when I talk about being a great choice rather than the best choice, I said that right up. There might be other great choices out there. But the thing is if you take this approach, it's hard for other people to copy you. They can copy your products, your services, your price, but no one else can be you. And the final one here, which is certainly not the last, is that when you start to align the marketing and sales and the operations by aligning around what is it that people are actually buying from you? Do you deliver what they actually are buying from you? And in reverse, are you delivering what people have actually wanted to buy from you? That's a ripple that goes across the entire organization. So one of the reasons why this actually works, another reason is because the interviews are really different than what people expect. Everyone's been interviewed by someone about some vendor they've worked with, and it usually goes along a similar line. And it's about what they expect is how do they fit into the vendor's business? So if the vendor is my client, I could call them up and say, well, how do you fit into my client's business? That's not a conversation people really want to have. They want to get off the phone for that because it doesn't really impact them. So I turn it around and I make the entire focus on how my client fits into their business. That's a conversation almost everyone wants to have. It's about them. It also it sets the table that my client, the vendor, my client cares about how they fit into the customer's business. They might have the most valuable thing in the world, but it's just a nit in terms of the customer's overall business. They've got a lot of things on their plate. And if you start to align this way, then people say, oh, they care about the same things I do. So my approach is different in some other ways as well. I'll do this. I think we got time. I actually don't have, in terms of the traditional model that you're used to seeing if you talk to a marketing or branding agency. So let me just talk about that real quickly as well. So it's fundamentally a different business model than most of the other folks out helping people from a marketing standpoint. So if you have an agency, and this could be a advertising agency or a branding agency or marketing agency, their focus is they put the focus on you, their client, and they want you to be happy. They want you to be happy with the beautiful website. They want you to be happy with all the things that they're doing, because their objective is to make you happy. So you'll give them a good referral and you'll tell your friends, and you'll go away, smile, and they feel like we've done a great job. And so, because typically these people are creative, they're looking to make highly visible changes. Things they can point to and say, we changed your colors, we gave you a new logo, whatever it is. Highly visible changes that you're happy with. They're largely constrained to what you already know, which, as I talked about earlier, has some big gaps, and that comes with biases. What you think you know versus what you actually know. And ultimately, the goal is the very traditional, make you the best choice in the market, which once again is something that's very hard for a lot of clients to actually evaluate. And so they struggle with that. And they go round and round and eventually make a choice, and they're not always certain that they really made the best choice. The reverse engineering approach is quite different. The focus is entirely on your best clients. It's where you are most successful. It's where you see your biggest wins. And the objective there is to improve your business results. I always tell clients that I can't be successful until you are successful first. There's no way for me to be successful without you being successful first. And when you look at the changes, because we're building on success, I'm very happy with very subtle but high impact changes. They don't have to be all hugely visible. I want things that we can say, hey, we turned that dial just a little bit, but look at the impact. Those are the best because those are easy to implement. And the insights come from the source. They come from, straight from the horse or the client. There's no confirmation bias. There's no, everyone else does it this way. And ultimately the goal is to be a great choice, which is a faster, easier process for the client to make a decision than to try to choose the best choice. You only need one great choice. And so another great choice comes along, they meet someone else later. It's like, we already have a great choice. We're happy, we're accomplishing what we want. I'm gonna break here for some questions. And then I did promise some takeaways. So I got 3 takeaways. So if we can ask some questions, give people questions, and then I will finish up with that. And I think we're on time. Unfortunately, it's sort of my
if I may, if you'd stop sharing, I'm going to put us back in gallery view.
I will stop sharing.
And so that everybody doesn't talk over each other, visually just put up your hand and then I'll call upon you so we can do it one at a time. Mike, you were really fast on the draw there.
On the buzzer.
Bruce, that was great. Can you give us a real world example where you implemented kind of a subtle change and it really had impact?
Sure. This one's actually a law firm. I love to tell this story because these guys are great. They do really complex stuff. So this is not your contracts and stuff. This is corporate governance, law, compliance, DOJ and tax stuff and things like that. And really, really smart. And the problem that they had was they had one partner that did 80% of their business, and he wanted to retire. And he realized that he's supposed to fund his retirement. But if you're 80% of the business generation and you go away, you're not going to be able to fund your retirement because no one's going to buy that stake, or they're not going to pay you very much. They actually went out and they rebranded themselves, and obviously, when the agency talked to them, they found, oh, these guys are really experts. We need to share their expertise. So they did a lot of sharing of answering questions. They built this huge library of questions that they could answer. And they did a really good job with that, succinct and all those things. But a year later, the needle hadn't moved at all on their business. They were no better off. At that point, I met them fortuitously. And when I went out and talked to their clients who they had been working with for years, what they actually did was not promote their expertise. What they actually did was their guides. They helped their prospects who become clients to figure out what the right questions are to ask. Then their vast knowledge allows them to answer any question. So the real impact, so one, that works great for the Rainmaker, but it works now everyone at the firm sells, because instead of having this complex process of all these things that we have to convince you of, they merely start the process with aligning with the client, the potential client's business goals. What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? And the prospect frequently will say, but we're talking to this other firm and they're experts in X, Y, and Z, and you haven't talked at all about that. And the response back is, well, we don't even know if you need X, Y, or Z yet. And by the way, we're experts on that. We've been doing it even longer than that other firm, but let's get you the right thing. At that point, the client goes, oh. And so that's how they've gone from having one person who's able to sell to having everyone generate business. And their businesses, they were hoping to have a little bit of improvement to fund the managing partner's retirement. Now that everyone is selling, it's like the roof has come off in a good way. It's blown out. So is that a good example?
Oh yeah, it's
I
great.
could go for hours. I got tons of great stories.
That is beautiful. Okay.
Rod, you had your hand up, and then Steve.
So actually, Mike and I were at a meeting this morning, and the presenter was quite interesting. It was all around neuroscience and neurolinguistics. And I noticed on one of your slides, you actually have that as, I think, one of your 7 steps. Tell us a little bit more about that technology and how you assist your clients.
Sure, and that's just a matter of, I assume you're probably talking to Mike Lewis, but the point there is to understand how people make decisions, and people do not make decisions the way we think they do. So most of us think that when we make a decision, we assemble a pool of people that can do the work, and then we pick the one we like. And what the neurolinguistics teaches us is that we actually assemble a pool of people we like, and then we pick one that can do the job. So Steve or Dave, I'm sure would tell us that having an emotional connection with people is really important. This is why it's not the backslapping used car salesman, a buddy, and look at your sports stuff. You can build that emotional connection by just talking about their business and what their success is. That's one of the questions I have, for facilitating a pre-decision. What are you trying to accomplish? Not what you think you need to do, what you can buy from me, or even necessarily pain. It gets to that eventually, but what is it that you are trying to accomplish? And I care about that. And now you start to build that connection. Then they say, oh, I kind of like Rod. He's asking the right questions about me. He's not trying to, and then you can start to assemble what the situation is, what the impact is, and those sorts of things that then allow you to provide, some concise credibility about the decision that they're moving towards. So often we have people that are ready to buy from us, and then we vomit on them with all 100 reasons, and then we wonder why it goes dark. When if we'd said the right 2 things, they would close right there.
Very good, thank you.
Steve.
On the reverse engineering, what works in doing it better? Can you give us maybe an example of something you've worked with in that direction?
So when I talk about reverse engineering, instead of starting with the hypothetical ideal client, who would you like to sell? Why do people buy it? I start with, give me a list of your best clients, and the best clients I define as who would you clone if you could. Now we could go through all sorts of math and who's more profitable and who sent you, who's more loyal and those things. I think that question gets to about 99.5% of the what you do with the math. That then someone in the office will argue about the math, that you did it wrong or whatever. This is a really easy question that gets to exactly the same thing. And those are the ones that you want to understand. Why do they actually choose you? And what actually turns out when I talk to their best clients, almost invariably, and it's different for everyone as to what this is, but the basic concept is the same, is that there are things that, Steve, that you do for your clients that they don't really think about because nobody ever talks about it. But when I get them talking, they say, oh yeah, there's this thing that Steve does, it's really important. I don't really think about it that much. And I go back and I ask you, why do you do that? And it's like, well, it's really important. It's my integrity. I couldn't sleep at night if I didn't do that for clients. It's the right thing, whatever. There's 100 different reasons. But I don't talk about it because my clients don't actually notice it and they don't value it. And what I come back with is, from people that you've worked with for 10 years, that I've pulled this out of them and said, no, they actually do notice it and it's really important. So I now give you permission to go talk about what you're going to do anyways, but you were afraid to talk about it. And when you you have that next conversation with one of those clients or someone that fits into that mold of a best client or a future best client, their eyes just go wild because you're speaking directly to, you get them, you're speaking to their needs and what's really going to impact them. And sometimes I've had clients that call me up and they say, I just talked to a client I've had for 12 years. He sent me all sorts of business. I know he loves me to death. All the surveys are great. And you know what he told me? He told me that you have finally put words on why you do such a great job for us. I could never articulate it, and you just put the words on it. And that person now, instead of just being a loyal client for the last 12 years, they now can spot other places that are in the sweet spot for them, and he sends them all sorts of referrals now where they never did that before.
Wow. Thank you.
Yes, Sheila. But you're muted. Hit spacebar or unmute.
Okay, hi, thank you. Are you suggesting that we go to our, for example, past clients and, ask them questions? Ask them why they chose us? Is that my takeaway?
Yeah, that's one of the things. I've got three takeaways, and that's
That's one of them. Okay.
that's not really one of them. But yes, you can do that, and you just have to be careful of confirmation bias on your part, because you can get people to say whatever you want them to say, or that's what you can take away. You also have to be careful of the mirroring. The people that you most want to talk to are also the people that most like you, and
Right.
they will mirror back what they hear from you in the past, and then you'll say, "Oh man, we are dead on," when in fact you haven't actually learned anything.
Okay, so
You won't
it's just-
necessarily get the nuance. You will learn stuff. It is valuable. You should always do that. But the nuance that you get won't be as deep unless you really are able to dig that conversation in. Or I always advocate a third party that can do that. But yeah, asking them. But you want to ask them not what do you like about me. It's like, why did you choose me? And even better, how do I improve your business or life? If you're a realtor or something like that. How do I improve? Not what do I do for you, not which of my services do you like. How do I improve your business? That's the magic question. That actually is one of the takeaways. So
Thank you.
don't leave early. Dave. What's your muted, Dave? There you go.
Can you share with us how you scale this with a company? So you go and do interviews, you get feedback from their clients and customers, and then what's the avenue to really scale that message so that they can get the most out of it possible?
So I typically work with owners or at the C-suite level as opposed to like the VP of sales or VP of marketing, because I want it to scale, because I've had people that run like the operations side, but they're an owner, so I make them be part of the meetings. And it's like, why am I going to this marketing meeting? And it's like, oh my God, I understand how what I do reinforces and benefits from marketing, because we need to make sure we're delivering what it is that marketing and sales is selling. And it's not just about doing a great job; it's doing the great job. So the scaling is I actually build out a strategic marketing plan with key initiatives, and then what we do is we then take it out to, sometimes if there's internal resources that are going to do, we will train them. In essence, you'll hand it off. A lot of times it's an outside agency that at first will say, like we need to ask, we need to do our 15-minute interviews with 10 of your 3 of your customers. It's like, no, we're like so far beyond that. And we don't need you to do the 14 things that everyone in the industry does. We need to do these 2 things, but you've got the technology and expertise. We want you to rock and roll on it. And if you do that, you'll end up with a really successful client that will do all sorts of things for you as well. So it scales out that way. In a more traditional organization where there's marketing and sales, sometimes I work with a lot of professionals. It's bring those leaders in, because I'm not trying to change the way their sales training or even their sales methodology. It's about what is the value that they provide, and it's not about the stuff. It's not the free advice I give everyone is stop talking about you, stop talking about your firm, and you'll go much further. And people say, well, what's there left to talk about? Well, the client. And so this gives them some permission. This gives them some rationale. It's not just talk about the client. Think like the client. And that's something that works across whatever methodology you use in management style. So it really plugs into everything now. And that's why I love people like you, because you go out there and help make the rubber meet the road. Because my rubber doesn't meet the road. I need someone else to bring down and take the rubber to meet the road in order to be successful.
I'm curious how to open the door to this kind of a conversation. So it'd be fairly easy to hire you and bring you in, but most of us are kind of small. So how do I open that door with my client to have this conversation? Because you've given us some great questions once we're sitting down with them.
So that's one of the takeaways, which is, talk about how you impact their business. So I think that's my third takeaway, and I'll just touch on it here, but I'll talk about it because I'll go over it pretty quickly. And that is that just think about everything that you do. How does it improve your client's business? And people say, well, there's only, my new accounting system doesn't improve my client. Well, think about how it does. If it doesn't, maybe you save money. Well, how does you saving money, improve your client? You don't have to give them the money. It could be that you're hiring better people, or that you're able to spend, by making more money, you're able to think more strategically about your business. There's lots of ways to think about that, but think about it in those terms. And now you start to have those conversations, and people say, oh, you're not even talking about anything I expected. You're not talking about your services or product. You're talking about how you improve my business. And your services are a byproduct of improving their business. So the law firm I talked about you earlier, you need to think about lawyers and egos. I don't think we have any lawyers on the call here. They're usually pretty self-centered, but this firm now explicitly thinks about themselves as their mission is to improve. What they do is they improve their clients' businesses, their business results, their legal services. All this vast knowledge they have is the vehicle by which they do that. So all those degrees, all those credentials, all that years of experience is really important for delivery, but it's not what they're selling. It's the vehicle for how they deliver it. And don't tell me that doesn't, cause, someone looking at a law firm to wake up and, did you just say that? And they mean it. And the thing is that they mean it. So, it's not just talk. So does that answer your question at all?
It does. It does. Who else in the room maybe hasn't asked a question, but has a question they want to ask?
Well, let me go back to our, if there's not, I will go back to
go ahead.
With the three takeaways that you can take away, and I think everyone can use to a greater and lesser extent in their business. Let's see. Okay, you should now see the questions. Slide again.
Yeah.
Okay, so the three takeaways I promised. So the first one is to how to make your marketing more effective. And this goes back to the question about basic neuroscience. So if you can understand how people make decisions, you can help them make better and faster decisions. So think about whatever we do, whatever our businesses are, whether it's building homes, selling IT, selling religious items. If we can actually help our clients make better decisions and do it faster, that's like another service. It's not just squeeze them in, to get them to urge false urgency or something. If we can make them make more confident decisions faster and be happy with those decisions, you're almost doing a disservice to do it the way where it drags out for a long time and they end up either doing nothing or maybe going with someone else. You've done a disservice to them. And that's all about the basic neuroscience, how we make decisions, the sequence, because it's emotion before logic. They're both important. You can't live without either. You can't make decisions without either. But being able to do it in the right order seems counterintuitive.
So Bruce, obviously from my perspective, I understand how that works in sales, right? A sales conversation where I'm going in and one-on-one or one on a few, I'm asking those questions that you talked about before, right? What are your goals? What do you hope to accomplish? Why is that important to you? Why now? all of that to establish that connection with them, get them emotionally involved in the conversation, talking about what really their goals and desires are. And then, you know, the pain part of that is what's standing between where they are today and where they want to be. So I get that from a sales perspective, but can you help me understand this sequencing in terms of marketing?
Sure.
How do we translate that to the marketing and the messaging and the website and all those things we think about as marketing?
So we ditched the things like those battle cards that talk about all the competitors and all the features and functions, and you know there may be the technical details may be important, but they're probably limited in what people need to have that confidence. It needs to be the whole conversation from the get-go. You can't say we're the best choice, we're the best choice, we're the best choice, we're a great choice, please sign here. You have to start that early on, and it's about, in essence, the culture of the company and the way they approach that. That we are interested in understanding how we improve your business, as opposed to here's all the stuff we want to sell you, and then the salesperson's going to come in and do their thing to sell you. Let's start that process. So, as the example at the beginning, you with the sales skills can hit the shots out of the rough and the tough ones, but if I put it up on the tee and give you the driver, how much better can you do?
So what you're saying is we take it out of, well, in terms of marketing and the messaging and so on, this is how we change your life, not these are the products and services we offer.
Well, so I'll give an example. I was at a networking event with a CPA, and so I asked the question I asked everyone in these situations: why do people, this room is full of CPAs. Why do your best clients choose you as opposed to anyone else? And he gave me a fairly articulate answer about how their firm is very customer focused and they care about customers and blah, 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 blah. I went on for about 5 minutes, probably a little bit longer than he needed to, but he was reasonably articulate. And I believe he actually cares and believes this. And I went back, and the first thing I did when I got back to my desk was I pulled up their website, and there were 6 paragraphs on their homepage, and 5 of those started with "us, we are our." That's not aligning with the client or the potential client. That's talking about me. It's the PowerPoint presentation that you do that has 5 slides on you, how great you are, before you talk about anything that the customer cares about. And it's the website with the About Us page that talks about our cute dogs or whatever. It's like, that's all about us. Do I care what kind of your favorite dog is? I might want to know you're a person and you have a personality. You're not just a robot. But tell me how you're going to improve my life. You have to convince me that you care about me before I'm going to care about anything you say. And that's as much a marketing message as it's a sales message. Traditionally, it's a sales message, but marketing could actually be helping sales, and maybe they wouldn't hate each other so much if they all got on the same page.
So Bruce, I hope you don't mind if I share a story as well. One of my clients, they were having trouble when they got to the end of the conversation and they were presenting their proposals to their clients, and they were having trouble, number one, making transition from talking about the issues to talking about the cost and the implementation and so on. And number two, they were finding that their clients were coming back oftentimes with, well, I'll think about it or I'll get back to you. So they weren't able to close. And when we looked at their proposals and talked through their proposal process, the first thing they had on every proposal was, this is who we are, this is what we do, and this is how we differentiate ourselves in the market. And I said, why do you start with that? And they said, well, because we think it's important to bring back to the top of their mind the differentiators and why they're talking to us and not talking to the bigger firms out there that they could be talking to. And it's exactly to your point, that was disengaging for their clients.
Yeah.
So we took that page and put it in the back in an appendix, and we replaced it with what I heard. And what I heard is, these are your goals, these are the problems, these are the challenges that you're having. And that made the transition then from, it's not me pitching you on my company and now let me tell you how I can help you. It was, these are your goals and your challenges, and this is how we can help you overcome them.
I love it. I love
and
it.
so-
And from a marketing standpoint, you can't say this is what we heard because it's to a broader audience, but you can set that up from this is how we operate, and these are the sorts of challenges. These are the case studies. And so people are saying, wow, they're speaking to me.
Yeah.
And the sales guy comes in and does the same thing. How much faster does that process go? And at that point, you don't really care if they're talking to other people, because if you are a great choice that they are going to have no regrets about choosing, then once they get to the point where, you're like, I'm never going to regret this decision, why would I keep going on and on and on? I want to get back to my job, which is not, unless you're in purchasing, is not buying this stuff. I've got a job I'm supposed to do, and this is supposed to help me. And let me get back to doing what only I can do. So I love that story.
Yeah, and I think it also goes, just to kind of put a point on it, it goes back to what you said at the very beginning in terms of creating that emotional connection, right? The biggest complaint that people have about salespeople is they just don't listen. And so when we go in and say, this is what I heard, it's really playing back that we did listen, that we did really hear what they were saying, what their challenges are. We're now playing it back, and that creates that connection and a level of trust that you don't get otherwise. So great points. Thank you, Ruth.
It's so powerful. People want to be heard. And then if you go beyond that, it's not just this is what I heard, but your actions reflect what you heard. That's even more powerful. And that's something that sales can do that marketing really can't do because of the different roles. But yeah, actions speak even louder than words, but the words are things that they're not used to hearing. And it's like, in some sense, it's a pattern interrupt, as you would say in Sandler. That I've never had someone talk about this. Where are they going to toot their horn or whatever? It's like, it comes back to those attorneys. We don't even know if you need X, Y, or Z yet. So why are we going to talk about that? So let me move on so we stay on track here. I think we talked about the next two in some sense, so I will go reasonably quickly. This is my free advice to everyone. How do you connect faster, deeper with prospects? It's stop talking about you. Clients don't care about you. They don't care about your business. They care about improving their business, their role, their life. And if you give them confidence that you are aligned with their goals, you can build trust really very quickly. We always think that trust takes a long time to build. I'm in a trust-based business, and building, establishing relationships takes a long time. No, it doesn't. Talking about you, it takes a long time to establish trust. But if you start talking about them and do some of the things that you were talking about, and you align with their goals, once they're confident that you're aligned with their goals, trust happens very quickly. And that's good. That gets you down that path faster. The third one is, I think Ed, you were asking this question about, how can you start this? And I call it the question. And there's kind of two questions. One is the direct question about, or the statement part of it, which is how do you improve the client's business, job, or their life? But it's a broader question than that. And that is, how does doing, insert anything, usually it starts with sales and marketing kinds of activities, but I'd say anything, putting in the new accounting system, whatever, how does that improve your client's business, their job, or their life? And I not care about there being this right answers or wrong answers, but if you think about it from this sort of perspective, that accounting system will help us, collect faster from clients. Well, so we'll have better revenue. Well, what will you do with that? Well, you can use that to, just line your pockets. You can use that to focus more on, now you learn about clients and who your best clients are, and you start focusing on them. That's good for clients because you're working deeper in your sweet spot. It can be that you're more efficient now, and maybe that next price increase is a little bit less, or you can offer a little bit more. Maybe it allows you to hire better talent that will help you serve your clients better. I don't really care what the answer is, as long as it's not just made up and phony. But think about it from this perspective, and it will keep you focused on them. I have a favorite client of mine that turned me into a verb. Took me a little while to get comfortable with this and actually tell the story, but they talk about being Brucified. And what Brucified means, it's really very simple. It's their internal kind of reminder of who are we talking to. And so before they send out something to a client, they say internally, they say, is that Brucified? And then that causes them to stop. They think it's all ready. They stop, they look at it and they say, crap, we're talking about ourselves. We got to fix this before it goes out. And so they could call it lots of different ways. Or they say, is that Brucified? It's like, we are talking about the client. This one's great. It's good to go. And so I call it the question, and that's a way of keeping focused on the client, on the people you're trying to communicate with. This works for nonprofits and our daily lives and families as well. But I talk about from a business standpoint. So with that, any other questions that people have? I'm happy to answer any questions here or later. Let me stop sharing so people can.
Oh wait, let me get a picture of your business
okay.
card. Hold on one second. Let me just get my camera up. Okay.
Bruce, I do have one question. Is that picture taken at Apple?
No, it's actually. I don't know where it was taken. It could have been taken. It looks like Apple, but I don't know. It was just a picture I found. It's actually Photoshop.
Ah,
I mean, that's really a picture of me. I'm unretouched.
You put a little gray in there to make yourself look more distinguished, I see.
There's plenty of gray there. Yes.
well, I'm curious, before we adjourn, are there any other topics people would like to bring up or any thoughts?
I have a question for Bruce, though.
Sure.
So now you're talking a little bit about establishing an emotional connection, but also not talking about you. So when I understand both points, but like to establish the emotional connection, you want to create that trust with the new client. So in that entails talking about you a little bit.
Yeah, it's okay to talk
Right.
about yourself a little bit, but it should be about them, because once again, they won't really trust you or care what you have to say until they know that you care what they say. So it's like the classic advice for networking, which is don't go around and people say what you do and spend 5 minutes telling about what you do and then wonder why they walk away. If you do that, you'll spend a few seconds, but turn it quickly around and talk about them. Then when it's your turn, hopefully they're actually interested in asking you. Now you can be really relevant to what they actually care about.
Okay.
And so you're no longer, you're fishing with bait as opposed to dropping a hook in there and just dragging around hoping you catch something.
I like that.
Yeah, really, that's a good example. I like that, or it's a good analogy. I like that.
If you want to take that further, it's depending on what you catch, you use different bait.
I think tonight was really good. Bruce, thank you so much for spending
Thanks,
time
Bruce.
and teaching
Thank
us all
you.
about that stuff.
Thank you for the questions.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Bruce.
Was
Great
excellent.
job.
Great job.
Great presentation, Bruce.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.
All right.
Have a good
Thank you.
evening.
Bye.